Hey pals, good morning, good afternoon and good evening to wherever you may be, at whatever time it may be. It is good to have you, as always, in the Collective Colloquial here. Eric McFarlane here in the Hey Pal Radio Studio with Season 4 and the NBL1 Focus. We've got 4 out of 5 conferences playing and the highlights have already been coming through thick and fast. It's a long weekend here in Australia, and not only is there NBL1 action, but the Kangaroos 3x3 or 3x3, I say 3x3 because I'm used to the Ants going in 2x2, but the 3x3 look to go back to back with Asia Cup glory over in Singapore. A couple of pals of the show in Lara McSpadden and Emma Clark will be taking to the court, and we hope to see them dominate and become champions again. And speaking of champions, our guest this week is a WNBL champion who has made an off-season move in the NBL1 East to the Hills Hornets. After an unfortunate injury on the court, she's well progressed on the comeback trail and with us to chat about this and a growing basketball career that has already seen great success. Right after this, join us for our chat with the Hills Hornets, Piper Anderson. Our guest this week is a rising star of Australian basketball, a breakout year last year in the NBL1 East, and now in the last 12 months, despite some setback, has a shiny WNBL Championship ring. Of course, to speak about the rising star from the Hills Hornets, Piper Anderson. Piper, hey pal.
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining us here. I know it's a busy weekend, although it's a long weekend as well around the country. But on the comeback trail, obviously an unfortunate setback back in January. But how are you coming along? How's the foot? How's rehab? Walking about.
Yeah, it's good. This is my first ever big injury, so it's been hard not to be on the court, be able to train. But rehab's doing really well. I got out of the boot 2 months early, so I was still meant to be in it. But yeah, as soon as I got out of the boot, I actually was at the surgeon in the morning and I drove straight to where I've been doing my rehab at Hoops Performance in Oran Park, which is close to home as well. And yeah, started my rehab the day that I was told I can get out of the boot. So yeah, it's going really well.
Is it fair to say you're getting a bit stir crazy then if you were there as soon as you got the A-OK?
Yes, yeah, 100%.
How do you sort of manage that sort of anticipation when you aren't cleared? Like, do you sort of? I know it was a little bit easy. We will talk about Townsville when the team's going so well, but do you try and sort of pull back from basketball? Or do you still stay engulfed in it?
Yeah, I would say basketball keeps me sane. So I was, as soon as I broke my foot, I was at every single training session still with the girls. Also being around that group keeps me sane as well. All the girls were the best, and it happened at training where there was only 3 or 4 of us at training. So the whole team didn't really know until I turned up to practice the next day on crutches and a boot. So when I walked in, they all came around me. We're all in a little huddle, and yeah, they just made me feel a bit better about the situation. It still wasn't amazing, but yeah, the girls were amazing, and I was at every single training session that I could be at. I did have to come home for the surgery, which did break my heart because that was the semi-final stint. So I missed all the semi-finals games, but the girls got it done so I could be at the grand final.
That's so good because I saw the photos and we will talk more about the championship and maybe as much as the celebrations as we can talk about because there was definitely a lot on the social, but I'm sure a lot more weren't. I do want to talk much more in depth about Townsville in a little bit. And as a Perth Lynx fan, I think I've almost interviewed everyone from your championship squad, so I don't know why I do this to myself. But I'm just curious, everyone that I've spoken to has talked about how special that group was, sort of on and off the court, and sort of it showed on the court. But obviously, we talk about socials. There's a lot of camaraderie. What do you think made that group so special, or makes that group so special? I haven't broken you guys up. Sorry about that insinuation.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I think that that's a huge goal of Shannon's, to just recruit good people. And he always said it, like, before we'd signed a contract, he'd call us to make sure that we were actually good people, and go like to different references, and like ask around to make sure. So I think that's like really important when you are putting together a team, because culture is a huge thing. And I've realized that at Townsville, how big culture is for a team and for success. Um, so yeah, and just the foundations that they put in at Townsville are incredible. Like, we have so many culture driven things. The first week that we were all there, we'd all sit down in a big meeting and do all these culture. Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, there's no doubt about that. I was trying to organise interviews after the championship win, and we had to schedule it around. Probably a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, because the team was still doing family days and community days, even though
Yeah,
the season was over. And I
yeah,
think that, further to your point, speaks volumes to that culture piece. It wasn't just, a mandated, contracted thing. The season was over, and you guys were still out and about in the community. I want to sort of quickly direct to Hills Hornets before we go back a little bit more into your journey.
yeah.
Opening weekend, 1-1. How's the group overall feeling after the results and sort of the start to the season?
Yeah, it's good. Been training for a few weeks that I've been at now. They were training when I was already still in Townsville, but group's good. Just like the start of every year, trying to mold in together as a new team. Is good. But yeah, over the weekend, pretty good. We played pretty well against Bulls. I haven't watched that one back, but Newcastle, we could have got them. But I think they really showed us the sense of how physical this league is. So they were all up in our grill, and we kind of freaked out a little bit about that, and couldn't execute all of our stuff properly. But that comes with time again. So yeah, looking pretty good. I just want to get back out there with them.
It is always tough when, obviously I've seen all the, you've been putting a lot of training stuff on there. You're doing a lot of work with our good pal Cherie as well, who we, through this show, exposes the basketball nuffy that she is by making her do a fantasy draft with us as well. Absolutely love Shez, absolute ripping human.
Yeah.
So you speak about time. Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's talk about the start of your journey. So how did you come across this great game of basketball? So what were your sort of first steps, and how did you find yourself falling for the game?
So I think mum and dad actually met while playing basketball, which is pretty cool. And then I have two older brothers, which they both played at MacArthur Heat, and then moved to Bankstown. So when I was ready to go into reps, into under 12s, I started at Bankstown. So yeah, I think it was like a whole family thing, but I was in netball as well, basketball, netball, and I was doing a lot of athletics as well. So I was a state high jumper.
Oh,
So
wow.
when I hit the age of like 12, 13, I had to pick one. Um, and mum still gets upset about it, but I chose basketball over netball, because mum used to play netball as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think just watching the boys playing when I was growing up, I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, yeah, it's something I want to do.
When you talk about that decision, and it comes to that time where we know how much parents sacrifice in terms of giving up so much time to get you
Mm,
to trainings and games, and then it comes to that point where obviously there's only so many hours in the day. We spoke about this as well with Abby, because she had to make that choice between the netball and basketball as well.
yeah.
But why do you think it was basketball that you settled on? Was it more a passion piece, or was it more you felt your skill set was better suited long term? I know it's a tough thing when you're, in your teens to try and make those decisions, but what do you think it was that tipped basketball over the edge? Was it the family aspect, the brothers, or was it just, no, this just feels right?
Yeah, I think it felt right. Like I liked playing basketball more than netball. It was a very close second, netball was. But yeah, like you said, I think my skill set and my brothers, my brothers were probably the main thing pushing me towards basketball.
And I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's proved to be quite a great decision. The proof's in the pudding so far. Um, was it at that time as well, or was there a specific moment where you go, you've made some state teams, you made some rep teams that you go, I can actually forge a career out of this? Is there a sort of crystallizing moment?
Um, I wouldn't say so. I think it was actually really like a hard stint for me. I never made a state team.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was reserve every single year for state. Um, Actually, I did make a state team in under 20s when we put a second team in, like last minute. I was in that team. So yeah, I really had to work for it, and there were a few times where I would think like, is this for me? And one year I actually did go back to netball, and I started. I had actually played rep netball for Camden, but then realized I missed basketball too much and went straight back. So yeah, it wasn't like an easy run for me. I really had to stick to it, but yeah.
And then how did you sort of get to the point where, obviously you stuck with it, you came back to it, as it were, and it worked out well. You got approached by Sydney, and, joined the WNBL. Tell us a little bit about how that comes about, and do you feel a sense of, I guess, justification for sticking with basketball when a moment like that happens at the Sydney Flames?
Yeah, so I had a bit of a rough patch in between that NBL1 season and the Flames. There was the first year of the Future Flames when I went. I didn't want to go to the trials. I was like, nah, I'm not going. I can't do it. Like I'm a very confidence person, and I think that's changed now as I've gone into Flames and Townsville and stuff. But mum and dad eventually forced me to go to Future Flames. I made it and had a great time. It was awesome just playing with all the girls that I had grown up with, like playing through state and stuff. Just having that once a week training, it was quite fun. And then we got to go to Hoops Fest
Yep.
and play there. So that was, yeah, super fun. Then on the way, we're actually in the lounge waiting for our flight home, and Guy Malloy called me. And I was like, oh, what's this about? And yeah, on that spot, he offered me a DP contract just before we got on the plane to come home. So it's like, yeah, let me think about it 100%. I would do that. uh, so yeah, and then he's like, I think that was a Saturday. He said, okay, I'll see you Monday at PCYC in Auburn. And what? Like 2 days Monday? Said, yep. So straight into it, straight home, had to mentally prepare to go and train against Kayla George and Shanice Swain. So it all happened very quickly, but yeah, very grateful.
That is a baptism by fire straight away there.
Yes,
But I guess it proves to the point of, I guess always being ready when you are chasing that dream and that opportunity. Is there could be cliches about doors knocking and opportunity and all that, but that's it. You got to be there 2 days. It's
100%.
pack your stuff. It does make it a little bit easier. It was in the same state, but obviously still a bit of a
Yeah.
lifestyle adjustment there.
Yeah.
If I may, I want to go back to your trepidation, your nervousness about maybe that Future Flames, those tryouts and things like that. You mentioned that you're a confidence-based person, and that's improved over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
do you think that, what was it that was maybe making you nervous about that? What sort of emotions were sort of holding you back? And if there was maybe someone in a similar position, what you would maybe tell them, or help them and guide them with that sort of decision to go for an opportunity like that?
Yeah, I think I got in my head a lot, and I told myself that I wasn't good enough and I can't do all these things. Um, but I think it's very mental. So I think you really have to work on it to flip that around. I am good enough. I can do this. And I have been starting to do that. And it shows in my game as well for confidence. So I miss a shot. Oh, well, next one. But I used to miss a shot, put my head down. I can't play basketball, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I think it's just switching like your mindset to I can do this, I'm good enough, stuff like that.
Yeah, really great point, because I think in the history of basketball everywhere, I don't think anyone's ever retired with a 100% field goal average. So
Yes,
shots are going to get missed. That's just the nature of the beast, and
that's very
it's
true.
how
I
we
do like that.
yeah, I mean, it's how we, pick up and move on, and we move on to the next, and moving on to the next after a season there at Sydney. You made the move up north, which there was quite a procession that went up there this year to complement that core that got so close the year before.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the Townsville opportunity, how that came to be, and was it another case of let me think about it? Okay, I'll see you on Monday.
um, so Miles Bench was my Comets coach, and he is obviously assistant coach at Townsville. So that's how that kind of came along. Um, I had the option to also go over to New Zealand. So it was New Zealand for the 3 months, or it was going up to Townsville to DP. And I wouldn't say it was a hard decision because Townsville is where you want to be.
Yeah.
Like watching them the year before and the year before, they're just so dominant, and I just felt like I could learn so much more up there and improve my game, which I did. Um, so yeah, and I had that phone conversation I was talking about with Shannon, and he was so supportive about me moving because it was my first time out of home. If I needed a job, anything like that. So yeah, that kind of came about through NBL1, halfway through NBL1, and yeah, moved up.
Yeah, and we speak about the NBL1 was in the announcement when you moved to the Hills, which we'll talk about in a moment. That was a real breakout year, so it's good to have, I don't want to say friends in the right places, probably the wrong phrasing, but like, coaches in the right places, because they know
Yeah,
your game, they know how to sell those, strengths that you have to the right people. And we have a lot of respect for the Towhee League, but you're right, that sort of investment in yourself there.
yeah,
Shannon Seabom, it's been said on here, he's got a star making factory up there. So
yeah,
definitely people go into the system there and come out a lot better in
yeah,
many ways. I'm so interested about the role of the DP, the developmental player. There was a good conversation with Tage Morrell and Taya Watkins on her podcast, Pro Ball Buddy. And I'm just curious for your thoughts in terms of, how you approach the role of being a DP and how important that role is when you may not see the minutes on the court during game time, but there's obviously a lot of minutes, blood, sweat, and tears that go into the training court and all week.
yeah, yeah. So it's everyone thinks that DPs don't like do as much, but we do exactly the same as everyone else, if not sometimes more. Um, I in Townsville, it was crazy. I trained a lot. I had so many individuals. They put so much time into me. It was absolutely amazing. I had individuals left, right, and center. Before practice, we'd practice, and then we'd shoot after practice. And then we'd have game days. After game days, we'd have top ups. which is like topping up to be the same load as the people that played.
Okay, what's involved with that? So what do you have to do once the game's done?
So I don't think we did it much right after the game, but if we had something the next day, Dakota and I, there was one game, we went to the locker room, had the coaches chat, and then came back on the court and started doing sprints and
Oh, wow.
running for top ups because we had something on the next day. So yeah, that's actually where I broke my foot at top ups.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it would be a lot of one-on-one, like for a good hour and a half, just one-on-one and going at each other. It was actually really, really hard. But yeah, then one day my mum was actually in the stadium as well and went up for a layup. And I was really high and kind of just like floated past the baseline and landed on the basketball on the baseline and broke my foot at top up.
Oh, my gosh.
That was a bit heavy.
Yep.
But yeah, back to the role of the DP. I think Townsville is a great example. Like everyone is equal, everyone is treated the same. Caitlin and I were always part of the group, and they would never. How can I say this?
There's
Like
never
I
a
said,
divide, never a class.
yeah, there was
difference.
never a divide in the team for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a super important role, not only for the team but for yourself. You know, it's in the title. You're developing and you're learning so much by being part of that. What do you think, apart from maybe let's not do as many top ups or at least clear the basketballs? What do you think your biggest learning from the last season was through Townsville? What do you think it was that maybe was your best aspect of development?
I don't know if I can pinpoint one. There was so much, like, just like little skills that just can fit into your game that I never knew were a thing, that we practice every single day at Townsville. Like the different variations of layups, even like 1 foot, 2 foot, like all these different things that I've never really had in my game. So yeah, I couldn't say one thing. I learned so much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing when you are back on the court playing, seeing those variations of layups. No pressure now that it has been mentioned, but obviously it's a good problem to have if you can't pinpoint it one. That means that overall there's a lot happening. And again, like I've been fortunate, or I've put myself through the pain to talk to a lot of your teammates this year, and it's a very similar thing about how it's like the overall development just sort of I'd say just sort of occurs, but it's a lot of hard work. But it does seem to happen when people go to Townsville. It's just, I don't know, it must be something in the water, or it must be something in the coaching staff, which I know up in Townsville in the NBL1 North, they're very happy that Shannon is just signed on officially there as well. So some more support for those up in Townsville. Before we leave Townsville and head back to the east where you are sort of gearing up to make your return, tell us about the feeling about being a WNBL champion and sort of what your feelings were when the buzzer hits and that's it, you've accomplished that goal, and sort of as much as an insight as you can give into the celebrations.
I actually just got goosebumps you saying all that. I feel like it still hasn't hit. Every time someone asks, I've always got a smile on my face. It was the best feeling ever. Even though I was in a boot, I said to Caitlin, because like so anxious, because that game was just, I can't even think about it.
Yep.
I said to her, if we win, you better put me on your back. You better not leave me here to run out there. And she's like, oh my God, yes, 100%. So the buzzer went, I jumped on her back and we're running out. It was, an awesome feeling. And I was just so proud of everyone and the effort that everyone put in, all the hard work. It was, yeah, finally granted.
The thing that follows, obviously, are the championship celebrations.
Yes.
I've asked a couple of your teammates, and we don't need any of the scandalous behind the scenes details. But is there someone that you would? I know Woody was the MVP on the court. Who do you think was
Yes.
the MVP off the court during celebrations? You don't have to give any context, but everyone can
Ooh.
sort of put together their own stories.
I'd say Coxie because
Oh
she,
yes,
with her knee, she always had one crutch on her wherever we went. Um, we went out to dinner one night and there was stairs, and I was in front of her on my crutches and she was behind me on her crutches. But yeah, I think if I was in her position, I wouldn't have done as much as she did, but she was at everything. She was with us the whole time, just with one crutch. So yeah, I'd say that she was the MVP.
yeah. That's actually a really good shout. I can't disagree with that. Cox is a ripping human being as well, as
Yes.
you would know. We've had her on the show a couple of seasons ago, and the fact that she stayed around, did the rehab and all of that, then and
Mhm.
saw it through to the end, and she also gets
Exactly.
some bling there as well to take
Yeah.
with her back to the States.
Hmm.
Um, One thing, question without notice, but I was just curious there when you talk about getting goosebumps about accomplishing the WNBL Championship. I know it's a little bit different for you because you've had some, recent setbacks, but so that sort of directs your motivation. But how do you keep motivated when you do accomplish something so big at such a young age? Like, is because it's very easy to go like, and we've seen it in other codes. You accomplish a championship or a premiership at 21, and early 20s, and go, hey, yeah, cool, king or queen of the world, like done. What keeps you motivated to go, I'm not resting on my laurels there, I'm now on to the next goal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, as you said, I am still pretty young. Um, I think what keeps me motivated is the amount that I developed in this season. I can keep going with that. That, like I said, there were so many things that I didn't even know were a thing that I could implement into my basketball game. So I just think, how much more is there and how much more can I improve on? I'm always looking to improve and wanting to improve. So I think that motivates me to keep going, keep training, keep playing.
One thing I wanted to talk about before we get to the Hornets, I feel like I've said that a couple of times. Sorry, Hills Hornets fans who are waiting for the very specific Hills Hornets specific part of this. In my research, I have a squiz through the articles and the stats and the socials. And one of the things that caught my eye was at the top of your bio in your Insta. And hopefully
Yeah.
it's not a private Insta, and I'm like betraying
No.
trade secrets here.
No.
But it says burnt toast theory. Talk to me a little bit about what that is and why that resonates with you to put into the bio, because usually I just like put something silly, but that actually seems like it has some real connection to your mindset.
Yeah. So it basically means everything happens for a reason, but I don't want to sound like cliche having that in my bio. I do believe in that, which is why I have a different um, kind of way of saying it. Um, so it's like, I actually watched a reel on Instagram. It just came up one day on my For You page, and it was someone talking about the the burnt toast theory. And yeah, like you said, it did resonate with me straight away, and I put it in my bio. It was a couple of years ago. Um, and it means if you burn your toast in the morning, that means you might leave a little bit late, be a little bit late to work. But if you left on time, something bad might have happened. That's kind of the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of just another way of saying everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, and I think There's a little bit of an age gap between the two, but there's something my old man very much believes as well.
Yeah.
Although he's a weirdo, he likes burnt toast, so that probably wouldn't resonate as much with him. And then I say that, but I think he passed that on to me because I like burnt toast as well. So I just look at it going, what is this delicious toast theory you have?
Oh,
All right,
so
Hills Hornets fans, we're there. Sydney Comets, obviously a big part of your development and your career so far. But making the move in the NBL1 East to the Hills Hornets, big move. As I said, it's not an easy decision when you move clubs, especially one you've been invested at. So, how's that come about? And sort of, what was the sell? What was the appeal there of making that move to the Hornets there?
yeah, I absolutely loved all my time at Comets. I think that one just passes my 6th year there.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll always love Comets, and the girls that I played with. I think we got silver medal in youth league one time. And I'll always remember that. But yeah, making the move, I can't remember if it was Shez that actually hit me up about it, because we were obviously together at Sydney and got along like a house on fire. So yeah, I think she started chatting with me, and then I got my agent involved with coaches and stuff. Had a chat with Rob and everything, and I really liked how it sounded, what they do at Hills, and yeah, made the tough decision. It was either Hills or I was going to go to Mount Gambier in the south. So that was a really hard decision as well.
Yep.
But yeah, I think after the time in Townsville, I decided to stay at home. And yeah, on that team swap, I think going from like Sydney to Townsville, I got so much from Sydney, I got so much from Townsville. I think just playing with different groups of girls and having different coaches and everything is really important in your development as well. Not that I like moving clubs, obviously, because I've only been at 2, my juniors and now. But yeah, I thought it was time for a little bit of a change.
Well, I don't know what it is about you, but in the WNBL finals, you and your team hurt me, and now you hurt me by saying you could have been in the South in the same conference, and you didn't do that. But I'm glad you brought up Shez. I know we mentioned her briefly before. Obviously, there's been just horrific luck with her knee, but how has it been? With that friendship when you broke your foot, knowing that you had such a close confidant who had been through some really serious injuries, what sort of support did she bring to you there, and experience was she able to sort of pass on to get you through, your rehab so far?
Yeah, Shez is amazing. Like you said, such a good human being. All of her reels are hilarious, and
Yeah.
also all her reels about her injury are really inspiring as well. But yeah, I think Shez is someone that will always check up on you, will always send texts, making sure you're okay. And I think, yeah, just having her around is really good mentally. But also, like, just me getting started in all this rehab stuff. She's very motivational. She pushes me to do all my rehab and stuff. We have a little giggle and everything here and there, as you may have seen on all of our reels. But we do get stuff done. And yeah, just going into practice early and getting some shots up together. It's really good to be back with her in the same team.
Yeah, absolutely ripping human being on and off court. Glad that she's able to pass that experience and that motivation. And I'm sure being, a best friend with Shez also gives you visitation rights with Miss Maple Moose. So we always think that's also very high on the pecking order there.
Yeah, I'm only Shez for Maple. Don't kill me, Shezzy.
That's it. That's the clip. That's the teaser right there. On friendship with Shez, just there for the dog. No, before we hit the home stretch here of our chat today, obviously we've spoken about it throughout the chat and the broken foot and the rehab. How are you approaching that now? How are you coming onto it? I'm not here looking for a timeline or anything like that, but how are you feeling in the body and sort of getting and edging closer to an on-court return during the game?
Yeah, pretty good. I think when it first happened, everyone says like when you get injured, you start crying, but it's not the pain. It's actually just knowing that I'm not going to be on the court. That was pretty hard. I tried to walk it off, but it was snapped in half, so I wasn't really going to walk it off.
Yes.
So yeah, mentally took a huge dip. But like I said, the girls at Townsville were absolutely incredible. They were always coming up to my apartment, seeing how I was going. Lucy Olsen, she crack a chick. She bought me like a basket with some Lego, some chocolate, some coloring in books, like just things like that. They were also amazing. So yeah, I think getting over that mental hurdle was pretty big. But now I've realized I'm pretty strong mentally and getting through this. I've realized that. So yeah, rehab's going good. Out of the boot 2 months early, so hopefully back on the court 2 months early. So yeah, I was meant to miss the whole NBL1 season, which was devastating when I heard that. But yeah, now I've just got to put the hard yards in and hopefully I'll be back in a couple months.
That's awesome. Well, fingers crossed that timeline does still keep on going with how you've been ahead of that proverbial world record yellow line that you see in the swimming in terms of your recovery. I do hope that continues. I know that, you're doing the hard work, and that's only what we see on the socials in terms of the strength and the training you're doing specifically to rehab it there. So for the last part here of our episode, we're going to throw 3 quick dimes at you, and I'm going to try and come up with a segment name that I can pronounce. But just 3 quick questions here to wrap up here. You can go as in depth, or you can give me 1-word answers, whatever you'd like to give with these ones, and then that will take us home for this conversation today. So the first one is, as anyone who, unfortunately for them, follows my socials, so I'm a sports nuffy, I follow a lot of codes. But is there a team from another code that you follow as a fan, or is there a sort of a basketball team that you put on a pedestal if you don't have one?
Ooh, let me think. I watch a lot of sports, so it's hard. I think basketball I watch the most. I've always gone for Sydney Kings since I was little, but I don't know if I want to say this, but NRL I go for West Tigers.
Thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
I'm a loyal fan. I've gone for them with little, so I have to stick with them.
No, absolutely. I mean,
right now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing for these long-suffering fans, because, when they do win that championship, I think I was just in the western suburbs on holiday after they won the 05 premiership. And as a Newcastle Knights fan, I know how it feels to then not win much for a while. Really good choices there. Excited. Are you enjoying the NBL Grand Final Series? There's been a bit of heat about it, hasn't it?
Yeah, crazy. I've been watching it all, but not as good as WNBL.
Agreed. No argument here. That's why we do this podcast. 100% agreed. Although I prefer the NBL Grand Final Series to the WNBL one, as much as I love you guys. The second one is, do you have a nickname, and how it came to be?
Oh, I have a few. The funniest one is actually from my dad. He calls me PC because my middle name is Charlie. Because apparently he didn't like the name Piper.
Oh.
So So when I was born, Mum embroidered a blanket and with Piper on it and wrapped me in it for my first. So Dad walked in and was like, "Oh, her name's Piper, is it?" So yeah, if Dad calls me Piper, I know I'm in trouble. So that's normally PC. Girls normally call me Pipes, Pips, P. Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, I like that. It's such a man thing to do. Go, yeah, I don't like that. I'm going to go with this until I get in trouble. But but it is good now. Now you have that audio clue to know whether or not you need to continue a conversation. You get the full name from Dad as well.
Yeah.
And then finally, jersey number. Do you have a go-to number when you have your choice? And is there any reason behind it?
Yeah, number 8's my number. That's been our family number for years. So I always try to get number 8, which I was lucky enough to get it at Comets and now at Hills. And for Flames and Townsville, I was 21. That came from my brother's college number. So
Nice.
yeah, that's why I was 21.
Keeping in the family. I know that, just from our very brief chat, even before we recorded, family's so important to you. So I love that little shout out to your brother there through the numbers. So I know it's an exciting time there for you guys in general as well. And it's been an exciting time, albeit with some adversity, but an exciting time in the last 12 months for you, breakout season in the East, WNBL champion, and now on the comeback trail. Got to thank you so much for your time today and having a chat with us here, and wish you all the very best in the recovery, in the rehab, and as I said before, hopefully you keep swimming ahead of that line and keep on recovering quickly and healthy.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. It was so fun.
That brings us to the ending of this episode of Hey Pal Radio. Thank you so much to Piper for the chat and giving up her time graciously to share an update on her progress and great insight about taking those opportunities along her career. The NBL1 East has a break this weekend, and Piper's Hornets return April 10 as they host Manly Warringah at home. Get down, support in arena, but of course, if you can't get to the game, you can always check it out on the NBL1 app or nbl1.com.au. Of course, select games are also on KO Freebies for the game of the week. There is still basketball this weekend. The aforementioned Kangaroos tip off on Saturday. Central have a public holiday clash, and the Superstars out west have a couple of games on Saturday night as well. I've really been enjoying the time difference over here and a few Guinness 0.0 nightcaps watching WA do its thing. Last week, I was also fortunate enough to begin out at Ballarat Miners in the NBL1 South for my commentary journey here. Thank you to all those who tuned in and provided feedback. And thank you to the stars on the court for showing out and showing us how to get it done. NBL1 South starting things off on a great footing. Our pal Abby Ellis, she shot the lights out for Diamond Valley and staked an early claim for the NBL1 South MVP. Our other great pal, Abby Werong, went double up on double doubles as a standard of excellence, consistency, and leadership. And I was fortunate enough as well to see Liv Pollard, but she delayed the headlines for later on in the week by dropping a Broomfield Asher with 45 points. Again, another star with a statement-making performance, capping off a great couple of weeks for her as well, post-contract extension with the Bendigo Spirits in the WNBL. So do make sure you check out those highlights and all the game clips through NBL1 socials and the NBL1 app. Share what you like as well. The more we get that in front of eyes, it's great to grow the game. Of course, it wouldn't be the end of Hey Pal Radio without thanking you, our magnificent listening viewership, or our viewership. Without you, as always, we don't exist as a platform to spotlight our great athletes. And we love that you spent time with us, as a rising tide raises all ships. There's some great content out there supporting the NBL1 and women's basketball in the land. So thank you as a community for letting us be part of it. If you have liked what we've done, please do share the word. Share some clips on socials. Rate us on your preferred service. The Boffins love that, engagement and reach and all of that. And we want to really make most of our great athletes giving up their time graciously. So we appreciate you tuning in. It's never expected to share or do anything other than, listen or watch along. But we do appreciate it again for growth purposes. Also, if you have suggestions, ideas, feedback, people you want to see on the show as well. We're always open in the DMs, comments, wherever you'd like to reach out. We'd greatly appreciate that. And of course, your time tuning in. And until that next time, we're wishing you a safe and happy long weekend. Eric McFarlane here saying that we can't wait to see you again here on Hey Pal Radio. Bye, pals.
Hey, pal.